The morning began like any other high-energy broadcast of The View, with the usual whirl of voices, laughter, and pre-show jitters buzzing through the studio as the audience filed in. Cameras glided across their rails, producers darted through the aisles giving last-minute notes, and the hosts took their seats at the table, each adjusting microphones, smoothing outfits, and preparing their on-camera smiles. But over at the guest seating area, Miranda Lambert sat quietly, her legs crossed, hands resting on her denim-clad knee, watching the organized chaos with a look of calm that bordered on icy. She'd been on talk shows for years, but The View always came with the extra tension of unpredictable energy, especially when sharing a stage with Joy Behar. Miranda knew Joy could be funny, sharp, charming, even unexpectedly warm. But she also knew Joy could snap without warning, delivering barbs laced with sarcasm and claws thinly disguised as jokes. And after the week Miranda had had, the headlines, the concert video going viral, the debate about her stage call-out, she already sensed this interview wouldn't be a smooth, cozy chat about her new album. When the theme music blasted and the crowd erupted into applause, the hosts launched into the usual top-of-show banter. Joy was already in rare form, firing off punchlines and one-liners about politics, celebrities, and whatever else appeared on the day's cue cards. She was energized, almost too energized. It wasn't long before the producers signaled that they were bringing out Miranda. "Please welcome the incredible Miranda Lambert," Sarah announced brightly. The audience cheered as Miranda walked out with her signature soft smile, polite, professional, restrained. She waved, hugged Sarah, nodded at Whoopi, and took her seat. Joy leaned forward almost immediately with a grin that didn't quite touch her eyes. "So, Miranda," Joy began, fingers steepled like she was about to deliver a verdict. "You're quite the troublemaker this week, aren't ya?" The audience gave a mix of laughter and uncomfortable noises. Miranda's smile remained in place, but her eyes sharpened subtly. So this was how they were starting. "Well," Miranda replied in her smooth southern drawl, "I think the headlines made it sound a whole lot wilder than it was." Joy lifted her eyebrows theatrically. "Did they? Because from what I read, and from the video that's everywhere, you stopped a whole concert to yell at some fans for taking selfies." Miranda's jaw tensed though her voice stayed even. "I didn't yell at anybody. I simply asked them to be present for a song that means a lot to me. It was a vulnerable moment. And I felt disrespected." Disrespected? Joy leaned back, arms crossing as if bracing for a debate she'd already decided to win. "Look, I get it. But people take selfies at concerts. This is 2025. They're excited to be there. They're capturing the moment. Isn't scolding them a little dramatic?" The audience murmured again, half agreeing, half uneasy at Joy's bluntness. Miranda kept her composure, though irritation flickered across her expression for a moment. "I wasn't scolding," Miranda said. "I was asking for attention for a part of the show that's meaningful. Fans are welcome to take pictures, just maybe not during the quiet, intimate songs." Joy let out a small scoff. "You know, if I stopped the show every time someone in this crowd wasn't paying attention, the cameras would never roll." The audience reacted with a muted laugh. Miranda's lips curved into a small, unimpressed smirk. "Joy," Miranda said, leaning slightly forward, "this audience is paying attention right now. They're engaged. They're here with you, not focusing on photos." The audience burst into applause at that, much louder than before. It surprised the panel. It even startled Miranda a little. But Joy's expression tightened immediately, her head snapping toward the applauding crowd like they'd betrayed her. All right, Joy said sharply, waving her hand. "Let me finish my point here." Miranda exhaled softly, patience thinning. She sat back, watching Joy with a weary steadiness, her fingers tapping lightly on her knee. She'd been through tougher interviews, sure. But something about Joy today felt pointed, like Joy wanted a fight. "So," Joy continued, turning back to Miranda, stopping a whole show just to lecture fans about their behavior, "I mean, you gotta admit, that's a lot." Miranda's tone dropped lower, calmer, but edged with steel. "Not as dramatic as stopping your own audience from clapping because you didn't like what they had to say." Gasps whispered through the room. A few people stifled laughs. Whoopi sat up straighter, now fully alert. Even Sunny shifted nervously. Joy blinked once, slow, controlled, but her jaw clenched hard. "That's not what this is," Joy said. Miranda tilted her head. "Isn't it?" The silence that followed was thick enough to chew on. The cameras stayed locked on both women, Joy stiff and bristling, Miranda composed and unyielding. The tension radiated across the table so strongly that Sarah discreetly reached for her water bottle and took a long sip, avoiding eye contact with anyone. Joy leaned forward again, speaking with a strained calm. "Miranda, you're not the victim here. You're the one who stopped the show to correct paying fans. And you're stopping this conversation to correct how the audience reacts," Miranda replied without raising her voice. "All I did was answer your question honestly. You asked, I answered. If you didn't want honesty, you shouldn't have asked." The second segment should have begun with smooth, almost scripted ease, another roundtable, another celebrity guest, another polished conversation meant to glide across daytime TV like a practice dance. But the air in the studio was still vibrating from the earlier clash, carrying an uneasy electricity that everyone could feel but no one dared name. Even the audience, usually chattering between breaks, sat in a hush as the countdown began. Red light on, cameras live, and Joy Behar walked back to the table with the posture of someone determined to reclaim control, no matter how brittle that control might be. Miranda Lambert was already seated, posture relaxed but eyes sharp, the kind of grounded presence that didn't have to demand attention, it commanded it naturally. She gave a polite nod as Joy approached, but the tension between them was still visible, a thin wire stretched taut beneath the smiles. "All right, we're back," Joy said, her voice steady, though the undercurrent of strain wasn't lost on anyone. "We're continuing our conversation with Miranda Lambert about her new album and her very passionate thoughts on how audiences should behave at concerts." There was an unmistakable edge on the last words, soft, but pointed. Miranda crossed one leg over the other, hands folded calmly. "I think it's pretty simple," she replied. "If people come to hear music, they should be present enough to listen to it." That one comment, so straightforward but so unapologetic, sent a faint ripple through the audience. They knew where this was going. Joy knew it too. She let the silence hang just a moment too long before leaning forward. "But don't you think," she said slowly, "that sometimes artists forget fans are part of the experience? People get excited, they take pictures, they want memories. That's not disrespect, it's enthusiasm." Miranda didn't bristle, but there was a brief narrowing of her eyes. "Enthusiasm is great," she said. "But there's a difference between enjoying something and ignoring it. When you're performing your heart out and someone is having a whole photo shoot during the quietest part of a song, well, it feels like they're not really there." Joy tapped a pen against her note cards, not even noticing the soft mic pickup of the sound. "But you scolded them from stage," she countered. "Mid-show, doesn't that cross a line? Isn't there a more gracious way to handle it?" Miranda inhaled deeply, folding and unfolding her fingers once before answering. "Joy, people think artists are just supposed to take whatever's thrown at them because they're on stage. But we're humans, not jukeboxes. If someone's disrupting the experience, for me and for everyone else, I'm allowed to address it." The way she said it, calm, unshakable, made the audience murmur in approval. Joy sat back, feeling the shift immediately. The crowd wasn't turning on her, not outright, but they were leaning toward Miranda with an openness Joy hadn't expected. And Joy did not enjoy losing ground. She forced a small laugh. "You sound like you want total control of the room," she said. "Since when is a concert supposed to be quiet?" "It's not about quiet," Miranda replied. "It's about respect. There's a difference." Sarah leaned in gracefully, trying to mediate the tension before it hit an unmanageable boil. "I think what Joy is saying is that." But Joy cut in sharply, waving her hand. No, I'm just trying to understand why a picture bothers you so much. Fans pay your bills, honey." The audience reacted instantly, some gasps, some murmurs, a ripple of disbelief that Joy had said it that bluntly. Miranda blinked once, slowly, the same way someone does when they're trying to decide if they've just been insulted or simply misheard. "My fans support my music," Miranda said, voice still even but now unmistakably cool. "And the people who come to actually hear me sing, they're the ones I'm standing up for." Joy pressed her palm on the table. "But calling them out in front of thousands of people is better than ignoring the problem," Miranda interjected, this time not yielding an inch. "If someone is ruining the moment, I have a responsibility to protect the rest of the crowd's experience." Whoopi, who had been silent through the mounting back and forth, finally spoke. "Joy," she said, her voice low, steady, unmistakably meant to diffuse, "let her talk." But Joy was already leaning forward again, heat in her expression, frustration creeping into the cadence of her words. "I just think celebrities complain too much about fans not behaving perfectly. These are the people who adore you. And you scold them on camera. Miranda's jaw tightened briefly, but her voice remained firm. I didn't scold them because I hate fans. I scolded them because I love performing. And I want to give everyone in that room the best I can. If a couple people are treating it like a backdrop for selfies instead of a live moment, I'm allowed to say something. The audience applauded, loudly, spontaneously. That applause shifted the atmosphere so sharply that Joy's expression froze mid-rebuttal. She hadn't expected the room to side so enthusiastically with Miranda. She wasn't used to being the one who seemed out of touch or unreasonable. In the moment that realization hit her, something snapped behind her eyes. Joy dropped her note cards on the desk. It wasn't dramatic, just a soft, flat sound, but it might as well have been a drum booming through the studio.